Together with the Union College Kenney Center for Community Engagement and Outreach, we are presenting a panel discussion on Proposition 1, New York's Equal Rights Amendment, known more commonly as the ERA. Now, the ERA will be on the ballot this November. According to the Attorney General's recommended language, but which did not make it onto the ballot, the ERA protects against unequal treatment by New York and local governments, no matter your sex, age, disability status, ethnicity, or national origin, protects LGBT and pregnant people, protects abortion. A yes vote protects against unequal treatment for these reasons. A no vote leaves this protection out of the state constitution. Now, we've invited a number of people to participate on this panel and give their perspective on the ERA.
So thank you, Cheryl, for the opportunity to talk to you all tonight about Proposition 1. It's great to see you here. The proposition, of course, is important, as all possible constitutional amendments are on the ballot, and in my view, is not getting enough attention. Currently, the New York State Constitution, Section 11, says the following: no person shall be denied the equal protection of the laws of this state or any subdivision thereof. No person shall, because of race, color, creed, or religion, be subjected to any discrimination in his or her civil rights. If amended, added to that language would be the following categories: ethnicity, national origin, age, disability, or sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy, pregnancy outcomes, and reproductive health care and autonomy. As you know from the language here, the language I read out, abortion is not explicitly mentioned in the constitutional amendment itself. What the proposed amendment would do would stop a person from being discriminated against for any type of reproductive health care.
So this image was taken just a few weeks after the overturn of Roe with the Dobbs decision. On the very left here of this 100-foot long banner is me and my kids pulling that banner. And this is the Brooklyn Bridge, where my organization, along with advocacy partners, pulled together about 35,000 people to get out into the streets to channel all of our energy and indignation for what had just happened. And so from a reproductive rights framework, what has already been said in some ways, and what I want to share is that Proposition 1, the Equal Rights Amendment, is New York's response to the overturn of Roe. This is what we're doing in response. When Roe was taken away, abortion rights were kicked back to the states, and we have painfully seen anti-abortion care legislation, restriction bans sweeping across the country in anti-states. And we have also seen states take action. There have been 6 states that have had constitutional amendment proposals regarding abortion. 4 were successful in adding abortion rights to their state constitution, similarly to how we are. And 2 were successful in defeating constitutional amendments restricting abortion. So we know, as everyone knows, that abortion is a winning issue because the majority of Americans trust people to make the best decisions for themselves and their families and their futures. So now it's our turn. Here we are in New York. But it's not just about abortion rights. We can go to the next slide. It's about all the people listed here that we've been talking about. All these groups of people are not currently included in the equal rights in our current state constitution, which is outdated. So we have an opportunity here to not only enshrine reproductive rights protections in our state constitution, but for all of these groups of people who should all also have protections within our state constitution.
So, as was mentioned, my name is Helen Helmuth. I'm a senior advocate at Disability Rights New York. And for those of you who don't know, Disability Rights New York is the protection and advocacy agency for New York State. Why is disability protections important to be included in the ERA. Laws can be weakened, as we see around the country with things like Dobbs, which I'm sure will be touched on at some point, but it codifies the protections of people with disabilities. And over a quarter of New York adults have disabilities. That's over almost 4 million adults living with a disability.
I am an openly gay man who has lived through the AIDS crisis and has been bashed, has been discriminated against, and has been treated with lesser value than my people with my same degree in my same place. I have served churches in areas where I was quote unquote considered white passing because my last name is Spagnolo. I have friends and family that identify as non-cis normative or transgender. And I have watched how they have been abused and maligned and discriminated against. We are talking about real people with real issues trying to live their life. And we know that unless things are specifically put down in black and white, they don't count.
My understanding of what happened to get Prop 1 on the ballot now is that window of opportunity was Dobbs. So Dobbs comes around and New York State wants to respond, I think is what Nicole had said. Let me just tell you again, the New York State Constitution only prevents discrimination currently based on race, color, creed, or religion. That's it, race, color, creed, or religion. So that is very narrowing.
So the reality is that the majority of New Yorkers absolutely support protections for all those groups of people listed. The majority of New Yorkers are pro-abortion and believe, again, and trust that people can make the best decisions for themselves, their bodies, their families, their futures. Unfortunately, as Dr. Oxley mentioned, there is what we call an anti-campaign. And the angle that they're taking is they can't come after abortion because they know that abortion is a winning issue. It's being proven all across the country. It's a winning issue. So the angle they are taking is attacking transgender rights. And they are doing this with a campaign of disinformation and straight up lies. Straight up lies. One of the examples that Dr. Oxley gave was they are telling parents that schools could take their children and go ahead and pursue gender affirming surgery. This is a lie. You absolutely have to have parents' consent. All minors have to have parents' consent for gender affirming surgery in New York, period. It's just a complete lie. They are saying that trans kids are the threat to cis girls' sports and posing themselves as women's rights, fighting for equality. This is a complete lie. We know that women's rights includes trans rights and every other rights of people that are listed here. We know the biggest threats to cis girls and all girl sports is actually racism, sexism, unequal distribution of financial resources for their sports, not other trans kids who are trying to have a normal life.
We have seen in the past that when things are not parsed out so clearly, they have been limited by practice. For instance, when all men are created equal in a philosophical sense, that is for all humanity. And yet it became something that was gender specific. And so we, by our history, have learned that if they are not included, we, as a culture, tend to limit the language.
For me, the Equal Rights Amendment is a really beautiful piece of intersectional legislation. We have made mistakes in the past when we have tried to fight against oppression, against discrimination from these siloed spaces, right? We're all different groups fighting the same fight, when what we realize is oppression is oppression. And when you're thinking about who faces most oppression, it's those who are most marginalized in our communities. And these are the groups who are most marginalized in our communities. So if we are all fighting together to say that we all deserve protection against discrimination, for me, I think that's how we should be fighting all these battles.
There was a question in the back there.